The calendar may have flipped over to a new year, but Melania is up to her same old tricks, using her husband's lawyers to try to defeat a case brought against her for a threatened defamation billion-dollar suit against a journalist, Michael Wolff, where Michael beat her to the punch and filed first in New York. Well, she doesn't like that. She doesn't want to be sued in New York where she lives. She doesn't want to be served with process from a process server at the building she lives at with her name on it. She wants to try the case in Florida, of course, and maybe try to get Judge Cannon. All of this in terms of a new submission by Melania's lawyers, which are Donald Trump's lawyers, including his corporate lawyers for his Truth Social. I explain it all to you at the intersection. And here's a clip. Let's talk briefly about Melania and what she's trying to do. It's a new year, but it's the same old Melania. She's not going to allow without a fight, not going to allow the lawsuit that Michael Wolff, a very popular guy today, she's not going to allow the intrepid reporter Michael Wolff, who beat her to the punch and filed a lawsuit in New York State Supreme Court at the trial court level to cut off her defamation demand on him for $1 billion. She's trying to get that case. First of all, she's dodging service. She's like, I think it's Evander Holyfield. Who's the fighter? Is either Tyson or Holyfield that just dodge the process server on a lawsuit against him? If you know, put it in comments. That's what she's doing. It's like, she's at Mar-a-Lago. No, she's at Bedminster. No, she's at the White House. No, she's back at Trump Tower and, trying to get process. See, federal courts and federal judges, even ones appointed by Donald Trump, like Judge Vocasil in New York, they don't like dodging, evading defendants. The way a lawsuit works is the filing of the lawsuit does not commence the action. I mean, it gets the case up and running. You pay your fee to your clerk, and the case is on the public docket, but it's got to be served, usually personally served on the person who's the defendant. And until it is, there's no action. Statute of limitations haven't stopped, and judges don't have jurisdiction. It's a whole mess. But when you have a party who's trying to evade service, then you can ask a judge for constructive service or serve the Secretary of State or do a nail on the door and mail it later. Apparently, Michael Wolff's people served the doorman. I've done work in New York City. Serving the doorman is a big issue because you never can get past the doorman to get into the building, to get to the front door, to get somebody of suitable age and discretion to take the package. So you got to catch him on the street, which happens, right? She steps out for a shopping spree at Bergdorf Goodman's, and some process server walks by and goes, "You're served." That could happen too. But why is she fighting service? Take it like a first lady. Accept the service. Michael filed after receiving in October a $1 billion demand letter that he needed to retract and apologize because he did reporting based on his interview with Jeffrey Epstein that connected Melania to Jeffrey Epstein, to Donald Trump, to young models, to modeling agencies owned by Epstein and Trump, to Melania, her agent, back to Michael, back to Donald Trump, to Epstein, to the Lolita Express airplane, to Donald Trump, to Melania. He just recently said on an interview on Legal AF that he wouldn't be surprised if Melania's names are in the Epstein files. There was that close of a relationship. Well, she didn't like that. She wanted a retraction. So she hired her husband's law firms. DLA Piper, a law firm in New York that does all of the corporate transactional work for Donald Trump's Truth Social. That's a set of cowards. In 2021, they said out loud that Donald Trump wasn't fit to be president of the United States because of Jan 6th. And now look at them. So they're representing it. And she also hired Trump's lawyer of last resort on defamation cases, Alejandra Bretto, out of Coral Gables, Florida, to file to represent her. So they are trying to move the case from state Supreme Court. The case is trying to have a judge declare that everything that Michael reported is either true, so it can't be defamatory, or is covered by the fair reporting privilege, or his opinion, or was taken out of context, but it can't be defamatory. She's threatening that case. That's smart, right? Get a judge to say that can't be defamation before she files her defamation case. Also arguing that she's just threatening the case in order to chill his First Amendment rights as a reporter. Melanie didn't like that. So without appearing in the case, she had her lawyers try to remove it to federal court. Now they got Judge Vocasil, who's like one of the only Trump judges appointed in the Southern District of New York in Manhattan, and she's sort of sided with MAGA in a case in the past, which I won't bore you with the details of right now, but not the greatest judge for this. But there's now going to be a fight over whether Melania is entitled to take the case to federal court at all. The only way she can take it to federal court is to argue that she is a resident of Florida, not of New York. Because if she's a resident of New York, then under the what we call diversity jurisdiction analysis, it's New York plaintiff, that's Michael, New York defendant, Melania, New York. New York gets you out of federal court. New York, Florida, you can go to federal court. Has to be complete diversity, 2 different states or countries. So she's arguing, I live in Mar-a-Lago. Now look, I lived in New York. I go back to New York frequently. I have friends in New York. I have lawyer colleagues in New York, and I was in New York for a long time. Melania lives in New York. Her name's on the building, okay? She lives on 5th Avenue on the corner of 57th and 5th next to Tiffany's. It's a big building. It has her name on it. It's called Trump Tower. It's diagonally across from Bergdorf Goodman, where a jury judged her husband a sex abuser of Eugene Carroll. Can't miss it. Down the street about 45 blocks-ish, her son goes to college at NYU, my old alma mater down on 5th Avenue and 10th Street, University Place and all that. She lives in New York. That's where she does her spa day, her shopping sprees, lunches with the girls, come on, gets her hair done, and then occasionally she's at Mar-a-Lago when she really has to be, when Trump wants her to be, or at the White House when there's a state dinner. That's where she lives. She's going to have to tell the truth about what bed she sleeps in, produce her travel records to show it. She's opened up a can of worms here. But buried in this new letter that's up on Legal AF Substack that they just filed yesterday is really what they want. They want Judge Vocasil to send the case ultimately to Florida because they say the case should be sent to Florida if it stays in federal court. Right? So who's in the Southern District of Florida in the West Palm Beach area? Let me think now. Oh, I got it. There's 3 judges, 2 in West Palm across the bridge from Palm Beach and Mar-a-Lago, and 1 in Fort Pierce, which is the upper north region of the Southern District of Florida. Middlebrooks, Rosenberger, and West Palm Beach. Judge Middlebrooks is, I think, semi-retired or at least senior status. And then there's Ian Aylan Cannon. So it's 50-50 shot between Rosenberg and Cannon that this case is going to assign randomly to one of these 2 judges. And, they're pulling for Cannon. That's what this is all about. And then try to convince Cannon, who's not a very good judge, that Michael Wolff can't bring suit first and that it's not a strategic case to chill his First Amendment rights. But then they're going to have to litigate all of the, Michael has said in his filing that the things that he's written are true, like comments about what happened on the Lolita Express between Trump and Melania. I wasn't there, but he did his reporting off of Jeffrey Epstein, who he was doing a biography of.